Coming to you live from sunny Arizona. The Steve Root Show is now live.
Welcome to Doodland. This is another Steve Root Live. I'm sure you guessed that because I'm obviously alive, as well as coming to you live. We've got a lot of stuff to go over today, a lot of really cool stuff. There's some big changes in the works, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But first, you guys are always interested in what is going on artistically with me. Well, let me tell you, let me show you. All this stuff right here, hands, heads, and feet. This is all my homework for today. And I've got to go over it and reacquaint myself with things I've studied for the last 40 years. Love my throat clearing. Also, we've got some pretty cool stuff to show you today by a mystery artist that we're going to be showing coming up in a little bit here. He's one of my favorites from the 1970s, but in fact, I knew his work mostly from the 80s. But there was a time when everyone knew about him, and he was one of the best artists that ever got into our field. And he's not the usual people that I talk about. He's literally a class by itself. The only hint I'll give you is that he formed the studio with 3 other guys. So we're going to go into that in a little bit here. In the meantime, this is the latest page of Nexus Return to Earth. You can see it's got a very bizarre kind of a layout to it. Normally I thumbnail everything out, and I have done that my whole life. But the times they are changing here. For some reason, I am very resistant to doing tight pencils. So originally I got stuck doing things that I had to do a lot of whiteout on because of the haste in which I did them. But now I'm becoming settled finally at page 33, and I'm really starting to tune into things that I never thought possible when I thumbnail all these out. I thumbnail pretty thoroughly, but when I punch the actual page up here, whether I'm going by my thumbnail or not, things come to me in weird ways that I could never anticipate. Like this entire jail cell thing, this jail cell panel here, was completely unexpected. But when I drew it up, I thought, I've got to carry this entire jail cell theme throughout the entire middle of the page here. So it just turned into things at the last minute as I started to draw these things up. So there's no accounting for why this is happening in my life right now, but it is. And I call it the tightrope method of doing comics. I also call it the crisis moment of drawing comics. And it really keeps me on my toes, and probably in ways that I kind of need nowadays, having done this for so long. But all I can tell you is the outcome of this this experimentation stage is surprising me as much as it is anyone. So, and I'm the artist. So, as you guys know, there's a secret to spotting blacks on pages, and I think you've all seen this before. You can see that Janelli prints me up 4 thumbnails of the page in question, and I start experimenting with where I need to put the blacks. I don't want to overwhelm things with blacks. I don't want to underwhelm things with blacks. I want to have just the right balance. But basically and essentially, it's all about what makes the page read good. So that's that. We got some announcements here, people, that I think you're going to be utterly thrilled with. So October 4th, community announcements, Nexus Return to Earth. We've got this we've got this pretty cool thing going on here. It's a behind the scenes look. We call it the, what do we call it here, Mr. Producer? The preview edition, correct? The preview edition of Nexus Return to Earth. And all that means to you, you guys are contributing your clams here, is that you're going to get a chance to see a behind the scenes look in ways that we've never done it before. And I think the coolest thing about it is we're going to show all the pages as they're completed. So you're going to get the thumbnails, which are about this big, and right after that you're going to get the full-size page that's about 1/4 done. And then we go to 1/2 done, and then 3/4, and then we finally show the the actual finished page for you guys, if we so choose. We don't want to give anything away, but I've never quite seen that done before that way, so I'm kind of excited about that. And it's specifically out there, obviously, for people that are fascinated by the field of storytelling, and I think this is going to fit the bill here. Now this is interesting. We're looking for creative people to help out Rude Dude. Now, you know, we actually film in a very secret location in Scottsdale, Arizona, where all the rich people live. But we're looking to expand. Okay, so the announcement goes as follows. We're still looking for someone local in West Phoenix. So you Phoenix guys, stay alert here. That can help us with Saturday filming, which is today. This will be a paid position, of course. Rude Dude is not anything but cheap. Email us with crew in the subject line at steve@steverude.com. Is that simple enough? Let's give a big shout out to the brand new Rude Dude crew. We have some amazing volunteers stepping in to help us out, to keep things running smoothly behind the scenes. And as you know, that's a big deal. We behind the scenes is all the stuff that goes on to make things run smoothly, so that we don't look like dummies when we finally get on the air. And this is these people are going to help us out, everything from social media to Patreon to the usual stuff, YouTube blogs, what a word, newsletters and beyond. And I think the thing that we're most excited about, me and Gino and the super little kid, is that they're all helping us build an even stronger Nexus community. So Nexus Army members, we're going to be marching in force before you know it. So please welcome in us joining the following people. Landon. These are the guys that have volunteered for the brand new Rude Dude crew. Tristan. Irez. Nahuel. Jose, Sam, Kevin, Ryan, Dale, and Buck, which is what I call my younger brother, Bucky. So we're really grateful to you guys. You really stepped up and gave us something to take the pressure off the main crew here, which includes me. So welcome aboard. This is going to help keep the Nexus rockets flying right here. The How to Draw Nexus book, the figure drawing book that just came out, we're selling out. We've got 60 copies out of the 300 some that we actually printed. And I think you guys know about this book. It's my offering to the figure drawing community as to how I develop figures. Some little tricks and things of the trade that can help you on top of the fundamentals, which is what this book is all about. I like to think I specialize in doing things in a non-boring way, you know, starting with a cube and all that kind of stuff, because that's boring stuff. You can get into that later, and I explain how it works later on, but these are the building blocks behind everything that you see in these pages right here. And we're excited to see you dive into this and see what you can learn from it. So you can get the book at steverude.com/howtodraw and pre-order your copy. Did you know I'm going to follow this book up with a book on painting? True. The rumors are true. Whatever you've read in Newsweek or Esquire, the rumors are in fact substantiated by the dude himself, giving you the news firsthand here in person. I decided that a book on painting, something I never considered earlier on in my career, but I think I'm at the point that if I'm going to do one, I need to do it now. And it's probably going to be a hefty, 200 some pages book where I cover everything I know about everything to do with painting. And that includes every medium, use of models, use of imagination, use of color, how to figure out color schemes, how to nail value schemes, how to use thumbnail sketches to make your work easier, and essentially everything I know about color and painting. It's going to be exciting. I'm really excited about this, and I've already got a good head start in this book already. I'm starting by writing down all the things I want to talk about, and then from there come the actual works of paint that I've done over the years, and a lot of new things that are going to be specifically done for this How to Paint book. You guys got all that? Good. So these are the new members. Are these actually the new members here? Introducing themselves and answering the question, what was your first Steve Root comic or artwork that made you a fan? And this guy is named Ezrin Askin. He's a comic book artist in Los Angeles, studying at CLULB. I can't be certain, but I think the first Rude art I saw was from Gary Martin's inking book. And then we have, this is a question kind of thing we put out every now and then to get some feedback from you guys. And J. Kevin Carrier, he's a comics fan and occasional dabbler. I think most people are at some point. He met me in person. Was that really made him a fan? So it's nice to know I probably made a good impression here, which is what I strive to do with everyone that I meet. This would have been sometime back in the 90s, and I was set up in Artist Alley at a convention. Steve had a table next to mine. He was friendly, gracious, handsome. I threw that part in. Even though I was a complete nobody, and we chatted a little over the course of the weekend. At one point, Steve, that's me, was working at a commission, and I noticed he seemed to be getting a little irritated. That's me. He was going over the same line again and again, really digging into the paper. I got a little pissed off, and apparently I came back. And so with that, I sat down, pulled out a new piece of paper and started the drawing over. And I thought, anybody that cares that much about a freaking con sketch is the real deal. Well, I don't like being licked, okay? So that must have been one of my rare bad days, freaking out in public at a convention. I'm sure there was, too bad there wasn't cameras back then, because I would have had hundreds of them online. This guy is Backert, 70. I don't know what these names are all about. He became aware of my work from First Comics as I collected comics from 20th century books in Madison, Wisconsin. That was a local bookstore that we all knew about in Madison. And he started collecting the Capital City comics, which is Nexus and the Badger. And when the company was based in Wisconsin, he started collecting those because of Leo Dorscheid, who was involved in those comics in the same high school graduating class as I was in. The new avatar is derived from one of my nicknames, Titanium, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we're going to skip all that. Here, these are the comments that came in last week's live stream. And this is one that you saw me inking a panel from Prince Valiant. And this guy writes in and says he agrees that inkers that assume that really slick strokes makes them a good inker is kind of incorrect. It's kind of a fallacy. What you need to do is describe form through ink instead of a pencil, and that's what inking is really all about. And he comments here, it's really not as easy as it might look. That's true. If I were to take on anyone as an inker, this as an experiment, I would have to spend a due amount of time studying the guy's work, probably doing some overlays, and then once I thought I got a grasp on it, I would start inking with a pen or brush. And he mentioned somebody really helped him out with his inking at one point, which is always nice to hear. And he says he's been trying to work on the advice he got ever since, but he's at least sure now how to overcome it with practice. And some guy wrote in and said, Pentel has some new brush pens with an ink reservoir. Now, we had these things way back in the 80s. And I'm going to assume this might be an updated version of that Pentel pen. He mentions that their points are probably the sharpest synthetic brushes out there. And they have waterproof black ink, always a good sign. We're going to always need waterproof ink. So cool. Yeah, this is great here. So we're going to move on to the next one here. This guy's commenting on Kirby's bleached out impact frames. What Kirby does is when he draws somebody slamming somebody, there's this area of bleached out white space. Kirby originated that. And he mentioned that he would say something like this: have you ever been on the business end of a fist? That's what you see. You see this blinding light hit you between the eyes, and you get knocked out, and presumably then you go to black. But it starts out with a bleached white impact. Okay, the comments here, comments there. Let's see. This guy wants to know if he can copy my work to learn stuff. Well, that's kind of what I have this live stream for, and that's why we put out the How to Draw the Figures book. We even have areas in there where you can practice your inking, and some really good paper that we stuffed in there just for that purpose. And yeah, of course you can copy anything that I've ever done as practice. So go for it. Okay, so I think this is the last two are the best ones here. There are so many, I'll just read it verbatim here, okay? There are so many comic artists trying to get into DC and Marvel, two companies that couldn't be more irrelevant to people here who care about comics nowadays. Well, I can confirm that. I can also confirm that everyone my age, within a 15-year difference, doesn't even read comics anymore. We think they're so bad, and they're so different from the good ones we grew up with, we just don't care anymore. And they're not worth reading, so we don't. The big two books are barely selling 20,000 copies a month worldwide. That's pathetic. That would mean they're essentially dead. Anyone in the world could do that, he mentions. And anyone in the world could make a better comic and sell it to more people than DC or Marvel. Unlike Marvel and DC, they would be making something that they love for an audience they care about if they actually cared about their audience. It is amazing the two companies, as decrepit as what's left of Marvel and DC, are sitting at the top of this little industry when anyone who remotely cares about comics and comics culture could show up and eat their lunch tomorrow. I don't quite know what that means, but I'm going to, my take on that is precisely what he's talking about. And this is why I'm really big on encouraging you guys that the field we once all wanted to break into isn't the same field anymore. I think you're better off taking your own creations and doing exactly what you want with them. If you work for Marvel or DC, lawyers are going to stick their face in your work and tell you what you can and can't do. I don't approve of that one bit, and they know that. So if you've got a character, draw a comic of this character. Write it and draw it, and try to have as much fun as possible, because after all, comics are meant to be fun. And that's why all of us get into the business here. So the next letter is about the advice that I actually cannot stand, is when people say you've got to get through 1,000 bad drawings to get to a good one, which I consider to be a death sentence or a prison sentence. I really can't stand that advice. So what I would say is, Well, I'll just read what this guy has to say right here. He would say you need a lot of repetition to be consistently good, which is completely true. Repetition is really the secret recipe for ingraining whatever you want to learn in your mind, storing it in your mind so that you can recall it when you need it. And if you can't recall it, it just means you need more repetition and more practice. And this guy here, interesting enough, he says he's actually a sheriff's deputy, retired. He draws, he writes, he plays instruments, and he's trained in hand and weapons fighting. Hand-to-hand and weapons fighting. Practice and repetition create muscle memory and reinforce technique, which is important under stress or in daily tasks. Good show, old boy. Last question here. I think it's the last one here. No, it is not. Guy writes in and says, how do you deal with art block or writer's block in a way that you would guess it to be happening in most people? God, I have bad days where I can't summon the work out of full cloth like other days that I sit down and just I think the secret for me is once you build up a head of steam on something, it's a lot easier to keep going with that than going from a cold start. Whenever I start a new book, I'm always coming into a cold start. It doesn't matter how many times I've drawn hundreds of pages of comics. What does matter is that I just get started on it. Just get started on it. And don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. That's another important thing. You want to take it easy, take it slow, give it all due consideration, and just work at a pace that's comfortable for you. And this is also something that ties in with doing your own work and publishing things yourself. This guy says, I never heard you say anything about Ross Andru. And this guy's really a Ross Andru fan. I like Ross Andru's work before he did the actual Spider-Mans for Marvel, where he was talented enough to make deadlines every month. Always a big deal for artists back in the 70s. I don't like the way he made characters stand. They always had a weird stance to me. But the fact that him and who was the other guy that was always he had an inker. You guys know who it is. I'll think of it in a second here. It's Ross Andru and someone else. They were kind of a tag team. They always worked together. Ross Andru would draw, and this guy would ink. And they made a great team. And this guy had a comment about, I'm always going on about John Romita in the 60s for his Spider-Man work. And this guy writes in, I had some romance novel style pages that I thought were masterpieces. And this guy mentions very smartly, much more difficult than fight scenes. They both have their sensationalism difficulties. They're both hard. I think the hardest part about these two subjects, fight scenes and domestic scenes, is to you just have to make it interesting. And you can look at all the old stuff done by artists from the 60s and 50s, which is when the romance books were really big. But there's so much more you could have done with that field. And if you've ever read Nexus by me and Mike Barron for the first 100 issues, and the work that I'm doing on my own solo, you can tell that we place a great deal of emphasis on doing interesting romance scenes. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's essentially it. There's more letters, but I think those are the highlights there. And now we're going to get into and reveal the artist that I talked about earlier that I've been really getting into lately. I've always been aware of him. We've all always been aware of him. The mystery artist in question is Barry Smith. Now, you guys probably know him as Barry Windsor Smith, But at the time that we knew him in the 70s and part of the 80s, he was just Barry Smith. So the middle name came later. And so we're going to show you some of the incredible stuff that this guy has done over the years. But first, we're going to go over some of the pages that I'm working on here. This is actually how I start a page right here. And you can see it's penciled in blue pencil, and over that is a regular HB pencil. And that's how I do my work. And you can also see the design of the entire page much easier here than I think when it's finished. And if you go over to page number 2, you can see some of the inking is started here. If we get to number 3, things are becoming more inked. And I'm still trying to get a hold on the inking. I've got about 5 or 6 pen nibs that I'm still trying to work out. And this is not uncommon for me. I'm always having to get my feet wet with the latest things that I've used my whole life, but having to get reacquainted with. And if you look at the 4th page, that's kind of where we left off here. And if you look at the actual original page here, which I'm going to hold up, does that work right there, Mr. Producer? Can we see that pretty good there? So we're going to go to camera B and see if we can show you the entire page now.
That's better.
Okay, so the reason there's a flap over here is because this drawing is done in pencil, and I want to protect it when I go over the rest of the work here. So this is well started. There's the outline stage, and then there's the black and white stage, which I'm having just a great time with. Anything that I consider wrong, I adjust it with a little bit of whiteout, and I redraw things. So whiteout is kind of the savior of corrections that don't turn out right the first time. I mean, some of these heads are so tiny that it's easy to go wrong in those. Let's move on to picture number 5. Now, you guys know I'm a man about town, and I've never been to Frank Sinatra's 29 Palms area, but I'm expecting to get invited anytime soon by the current owner of that mansion. Now we're going to move over to the feature of the week. This is the work of Barry Smith, Barry Windsor Smith. If you look at number 6, take a look at this guy's work. Now you can look at every square inch of what this guy has done and come away with a sense of awe. He's an expert in depicting flora. Look at all the different kind of plants and flowers down there. Those are actually real flowers and plants. This is nothing that's made up. His color schemes are beautiful. And if you look over to the side there at number 6, you can see some of the detail in an up-close shot. And I just look at this guy's work and remain in awe the entire time. If you think this stuff, all this Rococo designing of all these different kind of art styles throughout history, and all the flowers that he puts in, and all the elements and different props he puts into his paintings, you'll see that this guy's work is exceptional. Number 7 is some of the latest work he's done, but that was back in the 90s for Dark Horse. It was Barry Smith's Storyteller books. I think there was 9 books in all. These were monthly books, and the fact that Barry could even get this out in the way that he did, there was over 30 some pages in every issue. He had 3 simultaneous strips going on at the same time, and this is like a promo piece for Storyteller. I love his color sense, and I love his inking. It's just so cool. Number 8 is something every good artist does before they actually develop into the actual real painting, the final painting, and that is to do sketches from life. These are no doubt sketches from life. A model pose for these, and if not close, the very costumes themselves that he's depicting here. And this is what we do. We do studies to acquaint ourselves so that the final piece comes off in hopefully an effortless sense of the word. Number 9, I love the peacock. This is a big fat peacock, Barry calls it. And if you look closely at the rendering here, it's just it's mind-blowing. Not only do I love his inking, but his flesh tones are actually gray, and he's got little touches of different colors in there to give it an artistic sense of color that I just love. I love his inking. Look at the inking on the leg. Barry invented that. I've never seen anyone do that before he did, and it is one of my favorite parts of what he does. And if you look at that peacock rendering, it's exquisite. It's got all these little linear things going on over the black and white line work. And I believe Barry claims he did a bad knee on the character there and had to put a peacock in front of the knee to disguise the bad knee. Number 10, Barry claims that he doesn't care much about technique or putting on a good veneer on his work to make it look professional, but I kind of don't believe that. His work is so polished. This piece is in gouache, and a great deal of it is gouache, especially in the figure. You can obviously see there. The rest of it is, various grades of watercolor, transparent and opaque. And if you look at the top of this picture here, and you look at the design sense that he's got going on here, whoa. In my lifetime, I'm smart enough to know that I would never try to take on something as complicated as this. And this is standard fare for Barry Smith in his artwork here. But I just love the way this turns out. If you look carefully at all the little things in there, this is a lot more than a fine Waldo kind of affair here. He's got everything going on. Look, and if you want to look at a close-up here, look at number 11. This is a close-up of the lower right-hand part of this particular painting right here. And the rendering and the care that goes into these pieces is mind-blowing. And I don't know if you're like me or not, but I could stare at these things forever, because every detail is in consideration here. Every flower petal, every object is hand-picked for a reason, because it fits into the theme of the picture. The last one we're going to look at here is number 12, and that is a picture that Barry did at his absolute apex of his abilities. He did this at the age of 26. It was done in 1975 when I was still in high school. And when we saw this, when all of us saw this, our jaws just dropped open forever. The water alone is worthy of an Oscar itself, but the actual detail in itself, the color scheme, the gesture of the figure, and the rendering, and every last thing going on in here, the tree, everything, in the leaves that are scattered because she's being caught in her hair. I don't think there's a guy on earth that can transcend what he did here at the age of 26. Number 13 is a close-up here of the water. And you talk about convincing water. Oh my God. And it's not the standard water that you normally see. It's a very specific kind of low wave kind of water that you see in lakes. And it's got just enough wind motion going on to show you the ripples and how it works. And I have no idea how long it took him to do this, but I would say that's almost immaterial because the work itself is so brilliant. So that's going to cover it for today. And I'm going to go back to inking this page right here because I'm really excited to see how it's going to turn out. And I've also got the thing I showed you earlier where I've got my homework. I've got a lot of pages of hands to look over and reacquaint myself with. Repetition, repetition, and doesn't matter how long you've been in this field. That's how you stay. You get good and stay good. And don't forget about the books we have for sale here that I think you're going to like. I think everything we try to do here is specifically aimed and targeted at the people that are fond of this live stream here. The final thing I want to talk about is something you may have seen online recently, and that is I have decided after 40 years to reapproach my lifelong dream of getting a Nexus cartoon show on the air. If you've seen the 3-minute pilot, you know what I'm after. But instead of waiting for someone to come to me, I'm going to do something a little different, and it's going to involve picking a hand-picked crew, and all the work is going to be entirely done here in the States. There's no farming out to Korea, the Philippines, Taiwan, Singapore, or any other place on the earth other than the good old US of A. So by getting donations, I think we can achieve this thing in a way that I've always wanted to do it. I also think it's the only way to do this thing and do it right. I have never been a person who will fit under the thumb of conglomerates or studios, which is how Dark Horse originally set out to sell this thing. But I couldn't stand the way they were doing this. They never communicated with me. They were trying to do this while I knew nothing about how the pitches were going. I wasn't even included in them. So I finally got the rights back to the Nexus cartoon show, and that's what I'm going to do. The first thing I need to do before I get a crew is I need to find somebody who is really good. And that really good includes he's got to be an expert journeyman animator. He's got to know every aspect of production in a cartoon show. And he's going to start by taking all the animation that I've done that has never been tested, and he's going to have to test it. And this is the way that I'm going to become acquainted with the latest software out there that we are definitely going to use it to make things easier for everyone. This stuff was invented to make the process easier, simpler, and take some of the work off our hands, because as you know, doing any animated cartoon show is an immense amount of work. Be not fooled by the ease in which the really good guys pull off good shows. It's going to be in the style of Johnny Quest, which I think you all know about if you've seen the pilot. But the first order of business is to find that single guy that wants to come on board. Hopefully he's a fan of Nexus, and start assuming the roles of producer-director, as well as helping me film the mountain of animation that I've already done. I think I pointed that out last week. The only problem with the work that I've done is it's never been tested, so I don't know how it's going to move. So he's going to be there to oversee the entire process of the thousands of animation drawings, layouts that I've already done. And from there, we're going to hire individuals that are experts at their own particular talent, backgrounds, voice acting, musical direction, all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping that this is going to be something that's actually going to work. And as soon as I find that single person, we can move into other people to complete the crew. So that's another huge announcement that I didn't want to forget about. Unfortunately, I did not forget about it. So thanks for tuning in. You heard all the news. We've got a lot of people coming in to help us with the different production aspects of these live streams and social media. And I'm looking for someone to help me start off working on the Nexus pilot. And this is a pilot that's going to be at least an hour long. It's going to be an incredible amount of work, but I'm ready to do it. And if I find the right person, they're going to be ready to help me do it. So I covered everything there. Review everything just by rewinding this tape tomorrow when it's not live, and review a few things. And if you think you're the person that can help me with my show, if you think you've really got it, check out the ad that we've got online. Look over the very specific things that I'm going to need, and let me know who you are, and we'll chat from there. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week with more cool stuff. And there's always something to talk about. I look forward to more of your letters because they're always fun to read. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week. Take care.